What is going on, everyone? Welcome to yet another episode of the Schoch Factor Podcast. And if you're looking at me and you're like, hey, Steve, you look sweaty, you look out of breath. Was Mike Rooney on your TV this morning? Yeah, he was. And that can mean one thing and one thing only. The postseason is upon us. So I am joined, as always on the Schoch Factor Podcast, by the beautiful, handsome, great smelling, and on the move, Jordan Shusterman and Jake Mintz. How are we doing today, guys?
I'm stationary, to be very clear. The only place I will be this week is on my couch preparing for the regional action this upcoming weekend, whereas Jordan, he doesn't actually like college baseball, and therefore he has distracted himself with a cross-state move.
However, this is storyline to watch is I'm currently in the process of moving from Indiana to Ohio. I'm not going to bore people with the details, but the timing here is interesting. The movers are arriving on Wednesday, and the first, the regionals begin on Friday at noon, right? I believe I assume first pitch is around noon. I am very curious what my physical and mental state, we know what actual, legal state I will hopefully be in, which is Ohio, but I am curious how I will be feeling 4 days from now. Because right now, most of the stuff is packed. I'm feeling good. I'm looking at this bracket. I'm excited for the tournament. But so much has to happen in my life before I get to watch Squeeze play that it's hard for me to get too far ahead of myself.
Well, just know that Squeeze play is the phenomenal light at the end of the tunnel. And it's going to be just a huge test of the Wi-Fi hotspot on the phone. I feel like moving-wise, the biggest tip I've ever learned is splurge on your cell phone plan for that 1 month. Get the roaming hotspot. It'll pay dividends for that month.
Yes,
yeah.
Yes.
And the
real
I was just going to say.
No, that's totally fair, Steve. I was just going to say, the real wild card for me is I will also probably be trying to attend the Division III World Series since that is near Cleveland, Ohio. So a lot of college baseball. I'm going to be trying to consume as much as possible while also moving. But let's get into it, guys. Enough about me. Enough about you. Enough about any of us. It's not about us. This is about the players.
This is about
the 64 baseball teams that will be competing to go to Omaha and to raise that trophy that unfortunately looks like all the other NCAA trophies, but it's still cool and we're still excited. And where would you guys like to begin? Jake, I'll start with you.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm always overwhelmed on this day. I'm never underwhelmed on this day. That is a good thing. I would like to begin with just a quick shout out to all of those we lost along the way. Okay. Because there was one moment, and we're going to be excited and happy and joyful as we move forward here and celebrating the wonder that is the college baseball playoffs. But I want to just give a shout out to someone by the name of Adam Cecere of Penn State baseball. Okay. Yes. This was a moment. I'm sure you saw this, Steve.
I'm glad you saw this because I was like, I hope we can talk about this with Jake on the podcast. So go ahead. Yeah.
Adam Cecere. Okay. Who is Adam Cecere? He was an outfielder last year on Wake Forest. He then transferred to Penn State and had an absolutely electrifying performance in the Big Ten tournament, with Penn State going all the way to the final, only to lose in the final. After the semifinal game, Adam Cecere did an interview on the broadcast where he was, tearing up and talking about how much baseball meant to him and how he couldn't even really he didn't want to picture his life without baseball. And so he could not conceive of losing. He basically said, I have to post up. I had to post up because I had to show out, because it's either this or it's adulthood. Right.
Yeah.
Now, unfortunately, Adam Cecere and the Penn State Nittany Lions went down in the final of the Big Ten tournament, and their season is over. And Adam Cecere's college career is almost certainly over. Right. But the video, I highly recommend watching it. It just, Steve, I know you know this feeling. And what I just want to say before we move forward is to Adam Cecere and to all the Adam Ceceres out there, whether you're a D1, D2, D3, whatever level you're at, whether it's a college baseball player, a pro baseball player, a Hall of Famer, everyone's got to hang up those cleats at some point, right? And if you put the work and the time and the love into this thing, then you have nothing to be ashamed of and everything to be proud of. And for all of the joy that this time of year brings, there is an immense amount of emotion and sadness too. And I just hope those people can walk away with pride above everything else. So hat tip to Adam and to all the other Adams.
Yeah, because I'll just say, we have 64 teams competing, 241 D1 teams whose seasons are over, and we'll be watching squeeze play with the rest of us. But Steve, we do have some teams. Listen, the conference tournaments were ridiculous. There were some great moments. There were some stupid moments. I'd rather look forward. If there was anything specific, SEC tournament was actually, I would say, more compelling than normal. We had some really exciting stuff. We of course had the Mississippi State walk-off. Connor Heisack was awesome. We had LSU making the run all the way to the final. Tennessee, coming out on top. Even really cruising through. Really impressive showing from them. We had just some ridiculous games along the way. But so Steve, is there any conference tournament things that you wanted to mention, or before we can start looking at the bracket and get into the regionals?
Honestly, not much, other than the American Conference Tulane, the Green Wave just taking over. I mean, who could have seen that coming? I could. But others, we're sleeping. My friend Billy, of course, had a 7-inning complete game where he shoved. So shout out to Billy, because we love to see that. I was excited to tweet lies about Billy. I told him I can't wait to fabricate some stories about you throughout the rest of your career. I sent that text probably 2 weeks ago, and then it's like, okay, I don't even have to lie to do the impressive stuff. So we're very happy to see that happening. Another thing that just really stood out to me was watching UNC swing it. I was not familiar with your game, and I apologize. I watched them hit. I think it was like 4 out of 5 of the 5.
Oh, the first batters
hit home runs that almost killed me and my wife. Not really. We were just in the outfield, and it felt like every time we heard a bat crack, there was a ball coming in. So that was terrifying, but also just an exhilarating experience. So I'm very excited. I think they should have gotten a hosting spot just on that. But I do want to say, out of the ACC, how is Duke not hosting one of those regionals? Because the I talked to the players. They were all around the park. They were all civil. They were all very kind. I was like, these guys could host well. Like they could make sure guests feel well.
Good hosts. They're good hosts.
They would say, "Can I get you something to drink?"
Anything?
Exactly. Yeah. Like any. What did you think of the hors d'oeuvres?
Your house. Mikasa Sukasa, dude.
Exactly. Like, leave your shoes on, take them off, leave them by the door, whatever you want to do, really. And that's the thing about Duke. Like, I think they're a team where they had an impressive enough resume coming in to the ACC tournament, and then to win, what I would consider the second toughest conference in college baseball.
Whoa,
or depending on where you look at it. But
Steve would believe to be.
Yeah, I know. Shocking. But either way, I really think Duke earned a spot. I think maybe it comes down to facilities, or maybe it comes down to who put in the bid, or maybe it comes down to who was listening with a glass to the door to the room but wasn't in the room. Of course.
More on that later. More on that.
Yes. Yeah. We will touch on some committee, not malfeasance, but bias is certainly part of the story. I think. Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. It is worth noting, Mark Etheridge just wrote something up on d1baseball.com just about how there were 6 bubble teams with people on the committee, and all 6 bubble teams got in. And whether or not there is trickery going on is almost besides the point, because it smells weird.
Let's just get this out of the way now, right? Because I do want to, again, the fun part of this conversation is going to be looking at the regionals and say what we're excited about. But because this is clearly a relevant topic, and I'm glad Mark wrote about it, I think the important point that I would like to make is it's hard to even really be mad at the committee members, because these are human beings, and like it's like, of course this is how this works. Of course this is how the politics go down, and I don't know what the exact solution is. To have, like they say, oh, we have all these rules in place where they leave the room, and as Mark pointed out on the show they did earlier today, they come back into the room. They don't. That's nice that they leave the room for when their team's being discussed. They don't leave for good, and that's the challenge. Is It's the fact that they're in the room at all. And I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if we could only have committee members from teams that are nowhere near the postseason tournament. Maybe that would be the most fair. I don't know if we need completely neutral observers who are more in touch with what college baseball is. There's all kinds of ways we could do it. But my issue is that just like, of course, this is how this is going to work. We're human beings and we're all trying to look out for each other. So it's like, it's hard for me even to be pissed at the people who are in this committee position, because it's the least surprising thing of all time, and it's just unfortunate that this is the result of it. But Steve,
TCU,
Jake, go ahead.
Yeah, TCU is the team that probably feels the most slighted right now. Their RPI was in the high 30s. Yeah. However, Jordan, as you pointed out to me on the phone earlier, they finished 8th.
Yeah, 8th or 9th in the Big 12, and College of Charleston is the one that stands out to me, and I think that. And I'm going to kick it to you here, Steve, in a second, but I think that this goes back to something that Jake and I talk about a lot about the MLB playoffs, right? Which is that it's not supposed to be fair. It's not supposed to be about the truth, right? Necessarily. And I think where we're caught between now with the committee and how we build this field and who we want to see in the postseason. This is where I'm curious your opinion on this, Steve, very specifically because of the way that you follow the game and what you appreciate, which is that the notion of, do we want this to be the best 64 teams in the tournament, or do we want this to be the teams that had the 64 best seasons, roughly, right? Because the College of Charleston had one of the best seasons they've had in program history. They were fantastic in the regular season. They almost won the conference tournament. They had the metrics that were right in line with a lot of these other bubble teams. They're right there compared to teams like Florida and teams like in the big Kansas State, like middle of these power titles, where if you ask them, did you have a good season? They wouldn't necessarily say yes, but sure, they have talent that could maybe win a regional. And for me, I kind of want the teams that had great seasons relative to what they have to be rewarded, because what's the point? What are we playing for? The whole reason you start competing at the start of the season is to have the opportunity to play for a championship. And maybe College of Charleston wouldn't have the best chance to ultimately come out on top in Omaha, but I feel like they earned it in their situation more than a lot of these other teams. And that was disappointing for me, because thematically and philosophically, I think that's where I come down when it comes to the selection, is who are the teams that really did the best with their situation. And those are the teams that I would like. Of course, there's a balance. Of course, there's a way to reward the teams in the better conferences. That's where I'm at. Steve, I'm curious where you kind of fall down on that.
Yeah, so for me, I just think about the fact that over the past 33 games, College of Charleston is 28-5. Do you know how hard it is to play 33 baseball games and only lose 5 of them? And one of those 5 was the conference championship, mind you. So that's not an easy game to win. They kind of played with their backs against the wall all conference tournament and still made it to the finals and still played a good game. So UNCW, very good team, very happy for them. Don't want to discredit anything. But at the end of the day, this game came down to Trevor Marsh having a 2 RBI single and then a little chopper that bounced off the plate and they scored a run on, which, they manufactured a run, they earned it. But at the same time, you look at how that run's earned. It's not really a knock against College of Charleston where it's like, oh, we played sloppy defense. We were getting better around the park. And I just think, the CAA looking into the season, people were talking, oh, this could be a 3-bid year for the CAA with teams like Northeastern, UNCW, College of Charleston. They weren't really discussing College of Charleston in that discussion. It was more like, hey, Campbell. And Campbell had the season they had, and their season's done. And that's okay. We still love the Camels. We're hoping they have a stronger 2025 season. But either way, College of Charleston has just had an insane run to end the season. And for me, I would much rather see a red-hot team for one of these smaller conferences than one of these teams that's uber talented. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that these guys get to continue playing baseball. I'm never going to hate on anyone for getting an extra day. But at the same time, is that as exciting as watching a team from one of these smaller conferences playing with their head on fire? I don't know.
Yeah. And the thing that I know, Florida wasn't the last 4 in. Okay.
Yeah.
But Florida is the team that makes me the most uncomfortable. They went 28-27 is their overall record. Is Florida a better baseball team than the College of Charleston, Jordan? I would say probably yes.
Yeah, probably.
We don't know. We don't know.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you go 28-27, I don't care if you played the Yankees freaking 56 times. I don't care. Okay. You should not be in the tournament.
And they lost to a lot of teams that I am confident are a lot worse than College of Charleston.
Yeah, and like to me, I understand they have the number one strength of schedule in the country. I totally I get that. I know the SEC is a juggernaut.
Yeah.
To put in a team that is 28 and that is one game above 500 just does not sit right with
when
me.
you have a
and
rule that if they were under it, they literally wouldn't have been eligible.
If they had lost literally one more game.
Yeah.
If they had lost one more game, they would have been ineligible to be in the tournament, and yet we have them in here. And the other thing that I really hate about it is like, okay, Florida's in every year, right? And it's like all the kids on this team are going to have the opportunity to be in a regional, whereas you have these kids at the College of Charleston wearing their tushes off, and it just doesn't matter. And I understand that money talks. I understand the big power conferences talk, but and that's where the passion and the fandom and the eyeballs are driving this sport forward in a really positive way. But I sit here on May 27th and I don't feel good. Yeah. Right. And maybe I'm too lovey-dovey about this stuff, but like, if Florida makes Omaha, that will suck. That will suck. It will suck. It will feel cheap to me because it's like when in 2020 for MLB when we had 16 teams.
Yeah,
in the playoffs.
I go both ways, right? We saw Ole Miss do this. We saw Mississippi State. We saw teams. And to me, it's more that, all right, Florida, go prove it. Go prove that you're good because I am not convinced you're good. And so I would almost rather them convince me that they're good. Yeah. But whatever. The point is, I don't want to focus too much on these two teams or these teams that just got in or just got out. I'm just saying, big picture, I would like to see teams that earned it in their context more than teams that are just like, well, they're probably better. Throwing up our hands and saying, well, they're probably better than the from the SEC. Well, they're probably better because they're from that bums me out, and that's where I'm at. Enough, guys. Let's have some fun here, okay?
Yes, sir.
Let's
change the vibe.
We got 64 teams in the tournament. Steve, do you want to say one more thing, and then we can start looking at these regionals?
Before we change the vibes, do you even want to win the tournament? Because I mean, think about next season. Is it going to be a wash if you win?
Great point.
Like,
great point.
So it's like Indiana Jones. Like, it's very cool that Indianapolis gets all these knickknacks that he can put on the shelf, but then he's cursed. And he's living with that.
That's true.
So we gotta really consider that.
LSU kind of came.
Yeah,
it was looking dicier. If LSU missed the tournament, then we really could have made that argument. But it's looking a little bit better for champs this time. Anyway, all right, Steve. Here's how. First of all, do you want to do an ad read first, or do?
Yeah, read an ad.
Let's get into the
read an ad.
Okay, we can read an ad. We can read an ad.
ad.
Have you guys heard?
1 second, I have something to say.
Oh, yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah.
One of my favorite moments from the conference tournament was in Hoover when I believe it was David DeLucci said something along the lines of, "This is the most home runs we've had in the SEC tournament ever, and we're only 5 games into it. How about that?" Anyway, Steve, what's your ad read?
Oh, my ad read is, have you guys heard of the 2025 Soldier Tank BB Court baseball bat by Soldier Sports?
I have heard of it.
You have? Well, this isn't just any bat. It's lighter and hotter than any of its predecessors. Either that or I'm getting stronger, and we all know which one's the answer. And this is thanks to its infused power alloy technology that creates an ultra big, ultra hot sweet spot. Look at all that sweet spot, baby. Crafted from over 2.5 years of research and development, the Soldier Tank is the perfect blend of speed and power, designed for both power and contact hitters alike. It features a formula for success: speed times mass times impact equals extreme power. I've seen it swung. And Jake, when I've seen this swung, what do the mishits have?
I believe they have juice, Steve.
That's right. Even the mishits have juice with the Soldier Tank. The bat is priced at an incredible $311, which is well worth it to swing the top scoring BB Core bat ever. They're selling out fast, though, so head on over to soldiersports.us to secure yours today. Thanks, Soldier Sports.
Thank you, Soldier Sports. Now it is time to open this here bracket on ncaa.com/bracket/baseball/D1/2024. Let's get into it, gentlemen. I think we should. You know what? Let's go in whatever. Let's just take turns. We'll just go through. We're not going to go in any specific order. We'll go in whatever order strikes our fancy. Jake, you have the first.
No, that's too complicated.
Why? We're okay. Fine. All right. Fine.
I want to keep things organized for people so they know who's playing who and where and when.
Okay.
It's
all right. Fine. All right. Go ahead. Please.
First
you're
regional.
keeping things organized. All right. We're going from the top.
Great. Balls in my court. First regional, Knoxville. What tickles your fancy in Knoxville, everybody?
Excited for Northern Kentucky. This is their first tournament, so that's very excited. Here's my feeling about Northern Kentucky. They're going to hit a couple home runs early in this game, and we're going to be like, oh my god, Northern Kentucky, oh my god, Northern Kentucky, and then Tennessee's going to score 500 runs.
They have a gentleman by the name of Liam McFadden Ackman,
yes,
from Mason, Ohio, who has 21 Tatarooskies on the year. There are a few things better than the best player on the 4 seed homering in the first inning. It is like one of the best regional things. It just and then it's like, what? And then they lose by 12, and it's fine.
I'm excited Indiana's in the tournament. Also, that's another thing. I know they were a bubble team, and they were the first one announced. So that was kind of took the drama out of that. But I am excited to see the Big Ten represented. Steve, what do you like about this regional?
I was just going to say my first postseason experience was 2017 playing for the UMBC Retrievers. I was redshirted, but me and my friend Jack drove on down to the Wake Forest Regional, and Andrew Casale hit a home run for us in the top of the first against the Demon Deacons, and everyone was like, oh my God, we can do this. Stomped down the drain immediately, because what we didn't know was Wake Forest didn't hit yet, and they needed to, and they did.
They were allowed to hit also. That sucks, man.
Yeah, which was just unfair. I love having the matchup of Southern Miss and Tennessee in the postseason, though. I feel like these are two fan bases that are at each other's throats on Twitter. So, or X.com now, whatever.
Still Twitter.
Either way. But either way, I'm excited for those two to square off.
Let's move to, because I want to get through all these. Let's be efficient, gentlemen. Let's move to the 16th seed, Greenville. Okay, ECU gets to host. Obviously, postseason environment in the jungle, very cool. Kind of a scary news for them. Trey Savage dealing with the collapsed lung. Their ace, who allegedly is like maybe still going to pitch this weekend, which is like hard for me to fathom. But shouts out to modern medicine. Hope Trey is doing okay.
It's not a collapsed arm, Jordan.
Yeah,
I'll tell you that.
True. That's true. I guess that's somehow better than a collapsed arm, which is wild. Anyway, of course, the headline here is that Wake Forest coming in as the 2 seed. We knew that they were not going to end up hosting, although we sort of wondered about it in the second half of the season. Jake, what are you thinking about Wake being the 2 here?
Steve, will you be at this one?
I will be there for whenever Chase Burns throws.
That's probably the right call.
Probably,
and I think
that's a good one to go to, right?
Yeah, Steve.
That is a fascinating thing here. Do they throw Chase Burns, who's been one of the best pitchers in the country this year, in their first game against number 3 seed VCU? Do they tempt fate, or do they try and hold him back for a winner-take-all against East Carolina? What I think will happen, I think it will depend on what happens with Trey Savage.
Ooh, interesting. That's an interesting thought. I was just going to say VCU, Brandon Ike, crazy numbers. I encourage looking up their best offensive player. A lot of the projections had VCU as a 4. So I'm curious with them as a 3, if that is, maybe that's, a committee showing them more respect. Maybe Wake Forest does the opposite. Evansville is the 4 here. I was a little bit disappointed after ECU and Evansville were the first 2 teams listed that we didn't end up with the all purple regional that Aaron Fitt was stumping for. Could have ended up, with LSU, maybe squeeze, High Point in there, K-State. Unfortunately, only 2 purple representatives here. Obviously, the headline here, Chase Burns. If Wake Forest wins, Chase Burns against Tennessee, that is absolute. In Knoxville, that would be incredible. But then ECU is still trying to get to Omaha. So, either of those would be really, really exciting.
Shout out to Mark Schallenberger on the Purple Aces of Evansville. 24 hit by pitches. So if you see someone leaning in or not moving, it's probably my man, Mr. Schallenberger.
All right, let's move to, I guess we'll just go down the bracket.
Sure thing, Jordan.
All right.
Yeah,
so let's
215.
Go to, okay. You want to do, wait, which one do you want to do? Do you want to do Norman? I'm just looking on the website. All right, we're going to do the Norman Regional. This is Oklahoma hosting with Duke as the 2, UConn is the 3, and Oral Roberts still managed to win the Summit League. They are under 500 overall. They were obviously not very good this season, even though they were literally in Omaha last year, but now they go to Oklahoma as, I guess they're already in Oklahoma, but now they go to Norman as the 4, and Duke and UConn is there's going to be a lot of Division III representatives in this matchup. This is the grand transfer Super Bowl.
You don't understand what this means to us, people.
Duke and
the
UConn.
D3 Kings. Brady, or we're gonna have Brady Athens, I believe his brother, or he played at Southern.
Yep. No,
his brother played at Southern Maine.
Yep.
Stephen Quigley. We got
Broadhurst. We got Luke Broadhurst.
Cam Meyer is on this team. He went to Tufts, but I believe he's injured. We got
Matt
Jake
Malcolm.
Studley. We got Paul Tomorrow is on UConn. It's a whom's whom.
And then Oklahoma Oral Roberts is all the Paul Tomorrow. Paul yesterday also maybe in the lineup. Oklahoma and Oral Roberts, we got a million JUCO transfers, right? So this is going to be an incredible matchup there. Oklahoma, I feel like we have not paid nearly enough attention to this year as far as a host team. So I'm excited to get kind of a closer look.
Steve, have you seen Oklahoma, the movie, the musical?
You mean where the wind comes rushing down
with
the
an
plain,
exclamation point? Yeah.
Where the waving wheat is.
I guess that's the question.
Sweet.
Will this be in Oklahoma with or without an exclamation point? I think that's kind of the way to think about this regional.
I think the exclamation point will be Kendall Pettis in left field making diving plays. I feel like every postseason he is doing something where it might not be every game as a diving play, but there's one play where he's like diving through a hoop, over a fence, toppling, and sticking the landing, which is always exciting. I would be very upset if I were a 1 seed and the committee was like, here's Duke. Enjoy, have fun. Good luck.
Quickly on Kendall Pettis, you're so right. Have you seen the NBA playoff commercials that's like, playoff Luka? That's not a thing. It is a thing. Playoff Kendall Pettis. Holy crap.
Yes. Well said. All right. So Oklahoma's the 9. They are matched up with the 8, which is Florida State. Tallahassee. Remember, this program made 500 regionals in a row, and then last year they didn't even make the ACC tournament. And now they're like, whoa, okay, let's flush that. And now we are back as a national seed, number 8, Florida State. They have been extremely impressive, tremendously talented, got all kinds of draft picks on this team. They will welcome the Tide of Alabama, coming in as the 2, UCF out of the Big 12, our favorite Big 12 team, Central Florida. They are the 3, and then Stetson, the Hatters, coming in as the 4. Steve, what do you like about this one?
I love UCF. Being a Big 12 fan, UCF has always spoken to me. So I'm very excited about their team. I'm hoping they break out the Argonauts jersey, or I don't know if it's Argonauts or what's the Citronauts. There we go.
Yeah, the Citronauts.
Yeah, there we go.
That would be kind of a bold move to bring that on the regional, but
that would be crazy.
Cool.
Postseason just means a little bit more, but Alabama's another team to get excited about. TJ McCants has been going off. Evan Slight, one of my former teammates and current friends. I almost said former friends. That wouldn't be the case. Still friends with Evan. That's a good thing. So excited about that. But Jamie Arnold from Florida State is quietly just insane. Like it hasn't really been that quiet, but like his stuff, it doesn't jump out at you because of how weird it is. And I think that plays exactly into his hand. Like I think that makes him even better.
Little Cooper Jerpy element. I think he suffers from my theory of people forget about sophomores, right? Like if you're doing it as a freshman, it's like, oh my God, he's a freshman. And if you're doing it as a junior and you're draft eligible, it's like, oh my God, he's going to be a first round pick. And then if it's like, I don't even really want to think about the 2025 draft. And that's me. So I'm like, Jamie Arnold, you're awesome, but I'll think about you more next year. But you're right. He has been fantastic. Cool to see Alabama back in the field in Rob Vaughn's first year, right? Rob Vaughn's first year at the helm. So nice to see him getting in there as a 2 seed. Jake, anything on this one before we move to Arkansas?
I'm on Stetson's stat page trying to find something that excites me, and I can't. So let's move on.
All right, Hatters, make Jake feel stupid.
I can say that the Stetson excitement does come on Twitter because at the end of the regular season for the ASUN, Austin P tweeted regular season champions, but they ended up being co-champions with a number of different schools.
That was rough. That was rough. It was rough.
Yeah,
The Hatters ended up on top there. That was
they retweeted about that, and that the Twitter fingers turned to whatever fingers they turn to in real life. A little bit, not really, but
listen.
That was interesting. That's what to get excited about, though. About Stetson is standing on business.
That's true. As much as I am sad, we will not have hashtag Let's Go P in the postseason. Stetson is moving on out of the A side.
I would like for Stetson to make me feel them. Remember, like Wake Forest. Like as someone who loves a hat, I want to.
Yeah,
I want to hashtag hat me up.
This is a rare podcast where Jake's wearing a hat. I'm hatless. This is a bad sign for Stetson if I'm not wearing a hat on this podcast. All right, let's go to Fayetteville, where Arkansas is the 5 seed. They welcome in Louisiana Tech, Kansas State, and SEMO.
I love SEMO, dude.
All right, Jake, you love SEMO. Tell me about SEMO, the champs of the Ohio Valley, right? I think the Ohio Valley.
One of the 2 main valleys.
Top 2 valley.
So the program at SEMO has been like on the forefront of like hitting development for a long time now.
Yes.
Former hitting coach of the New York Yankees, Dylan Lawson, got his big start at SEMO. And so I like watching this team hit. They're very fun to watch hit.
Yep, classic 4 seed with some they can bop a little, and that is an interesting comparison because what can Arkansas do? They can pitch, and their offense has been underwhelming by SEC standards. However, they'll probably be able to score some runs at home against SEMO, but maybe I'll be wrong. And then K-State, a very talented team that I think we had a lot of expectations for before the season. They kind of squeak in as a bubble team. And then Louisiana Tech is a team I definitely am not surprised to see in the postseason, but I feel like I need to that's definitely a team I need to dig in on more this week. So definitely is a 2 seed there. Steve, anything on Baum Walker, or we can move on to this little team? I think it's Virginia here.
Yeah, just before we get into that, I think it's funny because all season long, it's like, can Arkansas's bats do it? It's like, well, they aren't the best, but they've been good enough, only losing 14 games. You got that pitching staff. It makes it work. So, But we can move along to Charlottesville. I believe there's something going on in town.
Yeah. So the winner of the Arkansas Regional will face the winner of the Charlottesville Regional, where Virginia welcomes this team, Mississippi State. I don't think they've ever played before, so that'll be nice to get kind of a fresh matchup between Virginia and Mississippi State.
St. John's. Can I be real about something? Can I ask a question? Steven Schoch.
Yeah.
Mississippi State and Virginia. Mm-hmm. Have they played one another since you played that game?
No. No.
Definitely not. Yeah.
So the last time they played,
my Twitter will be a cesspool that day. It's going to be I might turn off my internet.
What I'm hearing is Steve will be rooting for St. John's just for his mentions' sake.
But honestly, Steve's a Mississippi State fan now. Remember, he went to the dude and he bought in.
That's true. But we know who Steve's pulling for here, and as he should. Virginia very quietly hosting again. They deserved it. They've had a great season. St. John's is the 3. Penn, the Ivy champs, as the 4. Again, this is another excellent representation, or I should say range of SAT scores in this regional. You can determine which is which. And shouts out to St. John's. I went to the Big East Championship on Saturday to see them win another Big East crown. And they know how to win. I'm no surprise. I'm a little bit disappointed not to see Georgetown squeak in for their first ever tourney appearance, but St. John's is very, very, very good.
Penn, Quake Show. I was in early. I stayed in the middle, and I was in late. Okay. I am a big Penn boy. I use pens every day. And there are 2 players at Penn that should make Steve quake. Quake in his UVA boots. Oh, UVA, you're used to being the smart school, except for when you play Duke. And I guess like Wake Forest. Penn, you don't understand what's coming your way, Mr. Schoch, because Cole Zafiro and his 86 strikeouts in 68 innings will be throwing against your Cavalier ass on Friday. Yeah. And if you don't focus up, Mr. Wyatt Hensler and his 22 Tatarooskies will take you big deep. And Stephen Schoch has thrown
putting on his Penn jersey. We were all, is Steve looking at Mississippi State? No. He's actually, Steve can't lose now. He's got. Go ahead.
It's no problem.
He's got layers.
He's got the UVA art behind him and the Penn jersey.
This is a tough regional for Steve, who likes to be nice to everybody, because he likes Mississippi State because they were nice to him when he went there. He went to the University of Virginia, and he apparently has a Penn jersey. You must just hate St. John's, I guess.
You can't. Yeah. There's no like friendliness left for Steve to also like St. John's.
They had my friend Tate last year, and he transferred to Wake Forest. So it's okay.
Sorry, you lost my friend Tate. It's over.
Yeah.
Friend Tate.
All right. Sure. Let's head out to Tucson, where the
Tucson.
We have the Wildcats of Arizona, who won the Pac-12, the last Pac-12 championship. Incredible stuff. They get to host. They welcome in Dallas Baptist, West Virginia, and Grand Canyon. I know regionals are supposed to be regional. However, my favorite thing about regionals is the random. I know the 4 seeds get flown all over the place because that's just the nature of it. But I love the trips that some of these 2s and 3s have to take. And West Virginia going down to Arizona is delightful. JJ Weatherhold is on fire. I cannot wait to watch that guy. And if assuming Ryan Johnson's going game 1 for DBU, he is absolute must watch. And that is a pitcher that I think could get a lot of attention this postseason. And then Grand Canyon getting in on a technicality because Tarleton, who won the conference tournament, is not eligible yet.
They did it.
They did it. But GCU did win the regular season by like 1 million games. So it's not like they don't deserve to be in either.
What happened to Daniel Avidia?
I believe he is injured. I hope to be wrong about that. You're injured on and off. Maybe he's pitched recently, but he has not had the season I think he was looking for, is my understanding there. But they have some very interesting hitters that I think are going to be kind of worth keeping an eye on in this regional. But Steve, what do you like in the Tucson regional?
Honestly, all of it. I love that it's the Pac-12, kind of their swan song. Do I think it should be sponsored by Sears and Red Lobster? Yeah, I do, because it's the going out of business special. But
wait.
Arizona,
Red Lobster's isn't Red Lobster still cruising along?
Oh, it's not going.
Read the news one time, big dog.
Dude, he's moving. He's moving.
Did that just happen today?
No, I am glad that Jordan is not in touch with what's going on in Red Lobster. He is so landlocked. He could not be more landlocked.
Okay, that's true. However, I've never been to Red Lobster because I can't think of a place I'd ever want to go to less than Red Lobster.
See?
Someone who does not like seafood.
Exactly.
Yeah. But Sears is that's a great reference. Radio Shack would have been one that
Another shout out.
Enron.
Circuit City. But anyway, the point is the good reference. Sorry, I didn't know about Red Lobster being dead. Yeah.
I guess I'm going to say here, GCU has one of the most absolute units in college baseball in the form of 6'2", 295 Zach York, whose older brother is like a real Red Sox prospect, and the other older brother was on the team with Brooks Lee at Cal Poly. Zach York is a house and a half, but he can really swing it. Only 10 taters this year, but maybe he can get hot in the regional in Tucson.
Joe York.
He only struck out
Joe York, by the way, still at Cal Poly and hit 300 this year as a 25-year-old.
Oh, still at Cal Poly. My apologies.
I assume that was his last year. Anyway, Steve, go ahead.
I was going to say he only struck out 4 times this summer on the Cape. Real good plate discipline. It's insane. I saw one of the strikeouts. Didn't really agree with it. But
so it was even fewer strikeouts.
What are you going to do?
If Arizona wins the whole thing, does the Pac-12 get one more year?
They're playing for an extension on their entire conference.
Invests.
I imagine there's some college football fans that would feel pretty strongly about that.
I got to say, can I be honest with you? In D3, Jordan, we got Birmingham Southern going to the World Series in their final year of being a school. I hope a Pac-12 team wins the whole thing this year. I'm rooting for the Pac-A-Roni in 12.
Or at least get to Omaha, right?
We have been nothing but freaking haters of the Pac-12 on this podcast. Fairly, because boy, oh boy, is it hard to watch their games. But for this year, one last time on the way out the door, Pac-A-Roni in 12, baby. All right, what's next?
Last one on this side of the bracket. We're going to go, as in Mike Rooney's phrase, we're going turbo pod, gentlemen. But let's finish out this side of the bracket. We have the Tar Heels hosting in Chapel Hill. Of course, they're the 4 seed, and they welcome in the Tigers of LSU at the 2. Wofford, super excited to watch Wofford at the 3, and then Long Island, the NEC champs. They are the 4.
Can you pronounce that right, please? Pronounce that right, please.
Long Island. Long Island. The Sharks. Long Island are going down to Chapel Hill.
Everybody who's from Long Island is a shark.
LSU and Wofford is delightful. Wofford leading the nation in stolen bases. Marshall Toole, a player I'm very excited to watch on television. I believe their center fielder, super speedy guy, good on base skills. And then UNC, you just mentioned them earlier, Steve. They hit a lot of home runs. Let's say some prayers for the LIU pitching staff if they can keep the ball in the yard in this matchup. But yeah, man, I mean, LSU, this is quite a draw, tough draw for UNC. But let's see how much longer this LSU season is going to last.
Yeah, just a good juxtaposition having LSU in town, because North Carolina, they have Argyle on the field, which I feel like is not, a color choice or pattern that's common among Louisiana just in general. So I think that'll be an interesting matchup there.
Great call.
Storyline to watch. LIU number 1 pitcher is a gentleman named Garrett Yawn, as in
yes.
and
yeah.
This is based totally on a scouting stat line. He appears to throw absolute cheddar cheese because he has 104 strikeouts in 90 innings. 2 starts I'd like to highlight. 1, last month, he threw 8 shutty with 10 punchies against Wagner. He also, earlier this season, allowed 4 runs to Maryland Eastern Shore. So those are 2 separate data points.
Why is that important? Because they were 0-48. The last thing on them is Garrett Yawn is an amazing name. I believe one of their best hitters is named Jack Power. It sounds like a rescue hero. So Jack Power and Garrett Yawn, we are cheering you on against.
They also have a guy named Chandler Ketchup and someone on the roster who doesn't have a name, just a number, and that means that guy either got kicked off the team or quit, which is a great college baseball thing on the stat page.
All right, let's keep it moving to Lexington, the 2 seed, welcoming in Indiana State, who probably should have been hosting Illinois, the regular season champs in the Big Ten, and Western Michigan. Western Michigan, gentlemen, was the first team I saw this college baseball season. The first game I saw was in Arizona, Western Michigan against Michigan in Arizona, one of the worst baseball games I watched all season, but I am rooting for Western Michigan. CJ Richmond, one of their first base CH type, massive power, excited to watch him against Kentucky.
Steve, pop quiz. What is important about Western Michigan in the world of college baseball?
This is a good
oh my goodness, so many things. What's important to you about Western Michigan in terms of college baseball? Because to me, I really like that they are in Western Michigan. Like, are we talking the Kalamazoo region?
Okay. Steve's getting closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, of course, the Kalamazoo, former home of the College World Series. But why was it there? Why? Why? That's what we got to ask.
The Western Michigan Broncos.
Derek Jeter was from around there.
That's
right?
true, but that definitely did not impact the College World Series.
Listen, everyone. Listen. Road to Omaha. Okay, before in 1947 and 1948, the first 2 College World Series were in Kalamazoo, Michigan, at Hyams Field on the campus of Western Michigan in Kalamazoo. They had to redecorate all of the workout rooms because it said Road to Kalamazoo. Now they say Road to Omaha. If Western Michigan can, thank you, like the College World Series itself, go from Kalamazoo to Omaha, that would be absolutely delightful.
Indiana State, I'm sure, is pissed they're not hosting. It's fine. Just go shock the world. Kentucky, underestimate them at your own peril. That would be very foolish. The 2 seed, they're matched up with Corvallis. The Beavers are the 15 overall seed. They welcome in UC Irvine, one of the most successful regular season teams this year. Nichols out of the Southland, and then Tulane, who we already shouted out of the American. I will say, jumping ahead to the potential super regional, Oregon State, Kentucky would be a delightful super. That is so. Again, I'm looking ahead. Steve's like, "What are you talking about?" I would rather see Tulane be in the super regional, which is fine because I know your friend is on the team, and I am giving some love to Jackson Lynn here on the StreamYard. But I'm just saying, I actually think Irvine would be the team really to keep an eye on, because they've been one of the most dominant West Coast teams all season.
Yeah, for me, it's just a little tough because you think about Beavers, you think about what makes them successful, and we, of course, think about water retention. We think about dam building. And then I think about my friend Billy Price, whose middle name, most people don't know this about Billy Price, William Price, of course. William Buzzsaw Price, that's his middle name. What can really ruin a dam? A buzzsaw can. So that's where I run into trouble. Over his last 2 outings, 13 innings pitched, 1 earned run.
Beast.
Which to me, that could have been 1 outing, which could have been 1 13-inning pitch outing, 1 earned run. That's impressive. We'd be losing our minds.
Yes, I know. And again, I loved your friend Billy. However, if he is getting the start against Oregon State, Travis Bazzana might make that 1 pitch and 1 earned run if he continues what he has been doing this season. Obviously excited to see him on the national stage. Jake, anything for you in this Corvallis Regional?
Yeah, I think we need to talk about Nichols. First of all, useful. You gather enough of those and you can buy yourself, a Coca-Cola down at the corner store.
If I had a Nichols every time,
more than a penny,
made
I
joke
watched the
of
regional
this caliber. Well said. No, Nichols.
The one thing that I do think is important to remember, they're, I believe, one of their top pitchers, the guy with the most innings on their team. Do you remember this? We've talked about this guy before. Nico Saltaformaggio.
Wait. Oh, on Nichols, yes. Because he's not their number one, because their number one is like one of the best, 3-seed number ones in the country. In the bracket. Jacob Meyer, I believe.
Jacob Myers. Jacob Myers. He's got 105 punchies in about 70 innings. Yeah. But yes, keep an eye on Nico Saltaformaggio. He's got cheese. He's got salt on the cheese, baby.
All right, Steve, let's go to Raleigh, where maybe you will be making an appearance at some point. The Wolfpack are welcoming in South Carolina, going up to Raleigh from down there in Columbia. James Madison, a mildly surprising bubble team. And then the Bryant Bulldogs, of course, they taking care of the America East once again. Gentlemen, NC State had another team that I feel like we probably did not talk about enough this season, had some massive series wins during their ACC slate. They welcome in South Carolina, who, let's recall, had about as bad of an end to their regular season as possible, saved their season with a decent showing in Hoover, and now they're in as a 2-seed and get to face James Madison, who we were not totally sure was going to be in the field at all. Anything on this one, Steve, where you may or may not be making an appearance?
Just very excited for James Madison. That's a program where they got a new coach, I think, in the late 2010 era. I don't know the exact way to phrase that decade, but either way, they've kind of been slowly rebuilding, and it's been fun to see that come to fruition. They've had guys like Chase DeLauder throughout the years who've gotten them attention, but them making that adjustment to the Sun Belt is not easy. I did want to take a second on the Corvallis Regional. It's very interesting that Nichols and Tulane will be potentially playing each other, and they're 1 hour, 8 minutes away from each other in Louisiana. But of course, had to find a nice neutral site where it's not biased. You aren't getting one fan over the other.
Take the same flights. Are they on the same flight?
Probably. It's got to be the similar airport. That's not that far away from each other.
That is a great.
What's going on there? But either way, yes. NC State's going to be an exciting one. Alec Makarevich is one of my favorite players in college baseball this season. Just a really fun guy to watch play defense and hit. So you're going to want to keep an eye out for him.
Jake, anything on Raleigh before we go down to Athens?
No.
Okay. Let's go to the Bulldogs of Georgia. Georgia Bulldogs, who are a 7 national seed, mildly surprising. But I don't know if you guys are familiar. They play in the Southeastern Conference, and it just means more, which means more national seeds for the Southeastern Conference. And not that they didn't earn it. Georgia had a fantastic season. They have arguably the best player in college baseball in Charlie Condon, certainly having the best season. They are the 1. UNCW is the 2. Georgia Tech, another surprise bubble team, comes in as the 3. And then Army coming in as the Patriot League champs once again. I am going to talk about Georgia Tech here for 30 seconds. I know our friends here who were doing the projections did not have Georgia Tech ultimately in, and they didn't end up talking about it much on the show earlier today. But they surprised me. They could pitch way better than they have in recent years. They had some really high-end series wins. They obviously can swing it. And I'm curious to see if they can make some noise here. I think there's a chance they get kind of overwhelmed. It could get spiral on the mound. But I think that resume-wise, I think they absolutely deserve to be in. And it was cool to see them get their name called. Steve, you have anything on Athens?
Yeah, so one thing I'm excited about, the UNCW Seahawks, of course, they're having a lot of success, but they're all wearing fighting necklaces, which I think is very important. One thing I also ascertained from going there over the weekend for the conference tournament was they have some of the best chili dogs in all of college baseball. And I was just thinking, like, how could this dog get better? Like, in preparation, what could make it better? And all I could land on was... what if there were college baseball themed barbecue and grilling tools? Baseball barbecue started when a broken grill fork and a cracked bat came together to make the perfect grill tool. Now baseball barbecue makes patented bat handle barbecue tools and cutting boards that are licensed for the best teams in college baseball. Fun and functional baseball barbecue products are perfect for casual fans and serious grillers alike, and a great way to out tailgate your rivals. Visit baseballbarbecue.com/D1baseball to find the perfect grilling gift for the college baseball fan in your life. Thanks, Baseball Barbecue.
Thank you to Baseball Barbecue and the UNCW Chili Dogs for providing that wonderful segue. Jake.
Is Georgia going to defeat Army, or do they love our country? That's just something to keep in mind. Anytime you go up against those, just, it's conflict. It's a conflict.
Hopefully they can show as much respect as possible while hitting 500 home runs.
As Steve holds up his soldier tank. Army, a couple things about Army. Sam Ruda, who was one of the few players that was drafted in the 2020 draft, Jordan, correct? That did not sign? Am I wrong?
Wasn't drafted, but we thought he signed for a second, and then he ended up at Army. So
yeah, he's been incredible for them.
He's been amazing for them, yeah.
Yeah, he's been incredible for them. He is legit. They have another guy named Derek Berg who can really hit. And then they have the Patriot League Pitcher of the Year, Justin Lehman, who had a 2.53 ERA, which in this day and age is negative, essentially.
I am very impressed.
So keep an eye on him. I mean, Charlie Condon, it's a tall task, but this is someone who's limited the damage all season long.
Well said.
Also, I do need to see success for Georgia because Josh Robridge, he's played in the Division III College World Series. He's played in the Division II College World Series. We just need the Division I. That's all we need to conquer. And I wouldn't be surprised if he's playing for Birmingham Southern next season because, why not represent a team with no school at this point, just doing all of it.
Gentlemen, I need to leave, so I'm going to leave the last four regionals for you. But Steve, I trust you to finish this regional preview strong. And I actually am going to listen to it whenever you upload this in a few hours. Love you all. And wait, one more note on the last teams I haven't talked about yet. Grambling.
No, you don't get to do that.
Grambling. Shouts out Kyle Walker on Grambling. Okay, bye.
Good job, Kyle Walker.
Bye, Jordan. All right. Hey, Steve.
Yeah.
It's just the two of us, dude. Let's just talk crap about Jordan, dude. Let's keep going.
Do it.
I don't know what order we're going to go in because that's Jordan's job. Let's do College Station. Let's go there.
Yeah, let's do it.
You spent time recently. Texas A&M, the number 3 overall seed, they will host Louisiana. Those Raging Cajuns are the 2 seed. The University of Texas Longhorns are the 3, and Grambling is the 4. Steve, tell me something about this regional.
I love it because it's kind of the last time Texas A&M and Texas could be in the same postseason bracket outside
true.
of super regionals and outside of the college world. Or I guess it's kind of just the last time they'll be in the same regional, which is very exciting. Texas A&M has all the talent in the world. It's just a matter of if they're playing and clicking on all cylinders. But you can kind of make that case for anyone come postseason. I just think the talent on Texas A&M, the quantity and quality of it, is going to be tough to beat.
I believe I'm going to talk about Grambling for a second. They have a gentleman by the name of Mason Martinez who has thrown 112 innings already this season, which is quite a few. Steve, can you confirm?
Yeah, that's a lot.
That's a lot of innings.
That's a lot.
Okay,
It
through 9 innings against
years
Arkansas
to
Pine
get
Bluff, 8 innings against Prairie View, 7 against Alcorn State, 8 against Prairie View A&M. But my favorite is that in the conference tournament, he threw 6 2/3 on May 22nd. He threw 6 innings on May 24th.
No problem.
6
That's
innings,
no problem.
day of rest. 6 innings, day of rest, 3 2/3 on May 26th. So Mason Martinez,
naturally.
in the event that Grambling makes a run, he's going to basically throw every inning for this team. That is outstanding stuff. The 2 and the 3 seed, Texas and Louisiana, just play on the, what do you got?
Kyle DeBarge, very exciting for Louisiana, the Raging Cajuns. I would say he's the Raginest Cajunist. He's got 21 home runs on the year. He's going to be a name you definitely want to keep an eye out for come June, because he's someone who last season he had a great summer, had a great season this season, and has only really increased his draft stock in my mind. So I think he ended the year hitting around 360. And then on Texas, their team, David Pierce has taught teams how to win. They know how to perform in the postseason. There's a reason Texas baseball is such a big brand, and that's because, they produce consistent winners. So they're another team where, again, if they're clicking at the right time, you have LeBaron Johnson Jr. on the mound, and he's one of the best pitchers in college baseball in my mind when he's on. So if he's on, why I don't see why Texas couldn't really pull this off.
Let's move out west. The winner of the College Station Regional will be faced up against the winner of the Santa Barbara Regional, perhaps the most idyllic regional. It's a nice place out there, a little bit different than College Station. Santa Barbara, they're the 14 overall seed. They will host USD. The University of San Diego is the 2, Oregon the 3, Fresno State the 4. Anytime that you see Fresno State in a regional, it brings up memories of their iconic run. Also, underrated thing about Fresno State, Steve, is that Aaron Judge played there.
Yeah, just casual.
Very casual. Fresno State, how pesky of a 4 are they? Let's see. I would say decently pesky. Definitely more of an offensive unit than a defensive unit, it appears. Although they have the 3rd. Oh, this is wild, dude. Fresno State, 3rd best walk rate pitching wise in the country. So don't expect free passes out there in California. What do you got on any of these teams? UC Santa Barbara, San Diego, or Oregon?
Honestly, I feel like this is one of those regionals that's fairly balanced. It's one where it seems like it's really anyone's game, but it's a great opportunity for people to learn about West Coast baseball. I feel like it's
I gotta be
really good
I totally agree with you.
representation.
There's one Power 5 school, and it's Oregon. And this is a regional where I need to learn. I need to do better. It is cool to think that one of these 4 teams will be 2 wins away from Omaha. You know what I mean? That feels very improbable. And it is indeed very much a West Coast learning experience. Okay, 2 left, and then we can go. Clemson. The Clemson regional will be played in Clemson, because I learned recently that Clemson is in a town called Clemson. They are the 1 seed. They're the 6th overall seed. They will be hosting Vanderbilt, Coastal Carolina, and High Point. Steve, you've spent a lot of time around the Chanticleers this year. Educate us.
Yeah, so it was very interesting. The past 2 months of the season have kind of been a skid for Coastal Carolina. I went and saw them play against Troy a while back, and that's kind of where it seemed like things have turned for the Chanticleers. But the good news is the first half of the season, they played incredible, and they have a ton of talent on the roster. I think it's very interesting that they got in considering the interview Gary Gilmore had a couple of weeks, or no, this weekend, where it's kind of like, well, it's going to be weird being on vacation tomorrow. And then it's like, well, Gary, you got some more time. You don't get to go to the beach just yet. But either way, I really hope that the team can pull something off for him, because Coach Gilly, his service to college baseball has been nothing short of amazing. It's been a long commitment, and he's been through so much while doing it. Of course, everyone's going to remember the 2016 Omaha College World Series that he won. But I think this is going to be a loaded regional when you look at it talent-wise, because if it's the Coastal Carolina team that was playing in March and April, if they're the team that shows up, then that's, you got a 1 seed, 2 seed, and then another 2 seed. And this High Point team is a team playing with their heads on fire. This is their first college or postseason appearance in program history. They were led by Craig Cozart for a long time, which is Jacob and Caleb Cozart's dad. And he was a great coach, great guy. So it's very interesting to see where this program's at right now and how far they've come.
High Point, cool thing about them is their best hitter, Cale Chatham, who leads the team in home runs. I guess he's second in OPS. You could argue that Peyton Carr and his 1460 OPS, that's wild. You could argue he's the best hitter, but Cale Chatham has the most home runs, and he's their closer, and has 7 saves on the year and an ERA under 2. So that's a fun High Point thing. Vandy looked really good in the SEC tournament, just ran into a Tennessee buzzsaw. Can their offense keep the heat coming? I don't know if they're as good as they showed in Hoover, but I think they're better than what they showed at points during the regular season. And then it's a fun matchup with them in Clemson. Obviously, Eric Bakich has a history with Tim Corbin. Those two guys have known each other for a long time. And for Clemson to, again, it's only the second year of Eric Bakich, and here they are as the 6th overall seed, one of the national hosts, one of the national seeds. That's a fun one. And then the last one, our last regional, Steve, before we say a big goodbye, Stillwater, Oklahoma State as the host, Nebraska the 2, Florida the 3, and Niagara the 4. The idea of Jack Caglione in the launching pad that is Stillwater, Oklahoma, he could hit a baseball 500 feet. I think that is legitimately in the cards this weekend.
Yeah, I think this is just a real slap to the face to the Niagara, to the people of Niagara. Because, you think about it, you think about Niagara, Stillwater is the last thing I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about Russian Falls. I'm thinking about all the water moving around. And it's just like, hey, Niagara, here's Stillwater. Ever heard of it? Probably not. This is what it looks like. It's, still. Don't check the salinity of it because it's not moving around, which isn't great for, the natural filtration process. But either way, Jack Caglione does have the potential to hit those, Griffin Dorshing style home runs where he was breaking and denting buildings, which I miss. I miss those dearly. Griffin Dorshing was a power lifter playing college baseball. He was a power lifter with hand-eye coordination in my mind, because he was just, I would love to see him hit one of today's college baseballs. I think it would be telling. It would be borderline dangerous.
Nebraska is a super interesting team. They don't walk guys. Their whip is 7th in the country, 7th lowest. I think they're kind of I think they're going to be a lot of eyeballs on Florida. And I know I crapped on them a little bit earlier, but I do they're entertaining. They're fun to watch, right? That is, as far as the style of play goes, it can be frustrating, but they do have Jack Caglione, and that is a reason to tune in at all points. And then Oklahoma State, it feels like every year they're in just an absolute nut regional on their home field that they don't emerge from. It's been a bunch of years now. They had that crazy one a couple of years ago with Arkansas, right, where it was like 21 win by 2 in every single game. I'll be fascinated to see if they can emerge out of their regionals. Stephen Schoch, thank you for hosting with me in the Schoch Regional. Anything else you'd like to say before you say goodbye? Where are you going to be? Like, what is your plan this weekend?
So this is going to be a lot of travel. this weekend. I'm still not entirely sure where we're going. We'll, of course, be in Greenville for when Chase Burns is pitching. That's one I know I'm most likely going to be heading to. Clemson's very tempting. I need to see Vanderbilt. I need to see my friend's little brother, Luke Guff. So that's another one I'm interested in going to. And then, you know, that's the beautiful thing about this region of the nation. There's so many different host sites, so many different places to go. So it's still kind of up in there. I just can't believe we're at this point in the season already where we're talking about regional. What we aren't even talking about. We're getting ready to go to regionals and all of that. But oh my goodness, what a season it's been, man.
Steve, I cannot wait. I will just be on my couch is where I will be. And I am very,
That's
very
beautiful.
excited about that. Take us out.
I'll take us out. Well, everyone, as we mentioned, it's that time of the year again where Mike Rooney's on the TV. I'm sweating more, and I'm thinking about how I could get in better shape to be more like Mike Rooney. But either way, thank you so much for tuning into the Schoch Factor podcast. Thank you to D1 Baseball for hosting this podcast, allowing us to do it. And thank you for sticking around and listening the whole time, because that's not easy to do. My brain is officially mush, which means it is college baseball postseason time. Thank you for listening, whether it's on the D1 Baseball Network or on the SiriusXM app or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you to Soldier Sports and Baseball Barbecue for making this all possible. And ladies and gentlemen, the postseason's among us. Let's make